Is this working? Okay. All right. I want to also experiment with like how far away this is, because sometimes I feel like I'm doing it too close and then I'm like, blah, 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 you know. Okay. Let's try this. So as an artist, I'm naturally a perfectionist. I know a lot of artists out there who are, and some that aren't, and I'm happy for them. But I think we all do go through it to some degree. These videos that I'm making are teaching me to move through that, or at least that's a part of what I'm trying to do with these videos, not have so many rules on them. So that way I can process and learn as I go. But this took a long time for me to even be aware of the trait and to then realize that I was using it as some sort of, I don't know how else to word this, but like some sort of glorified power. Like, oh, this perfectionist trait will help me protect me from errors. And I didn't look at it for it actually being and coming from this place of fear. And it's a protection mechanism. But then everything I was creating came from this like stressful, anxious place rather than more of an fun and explorative place. It still happened. Like when I was in architecture school, I definitely was still having fun, but it was very much amplified. Um, and dealing with that like pressure of a short deadline and competition with peers and fighting for a place in the room, especially as a woman, it just grew. So, knowing that this is a trait I have, and as I go further into analyzing, I tend to intellectualize life and manifestation. And I'm coming to the conclusion that I just generally think it's interesting and try to look at it in a balanced way that doesn't make me feel like I'm out of my mind, or at least feel so confused and lost. It's fun. So as I was like thinking about manifestation and creating the creation of my life, like no matter how you look at it, like you are creating your life, right? I realized I was having this perfectionist trait with that as well, with my own life. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this with my desires. Like I wouldn't let myself flow with a desire. I would go like, wait. I want it like this, but maybe I want it like this. And now I'm too scared. What if I accidentally manifest the wrong thing? Like, what if I manifest something that would inevitably hurt me? But the only way you'll be able to perfect, quotation marks around perfect, the desire and the manifestation is to start to form it and trust yourself that it will ultimately work out. And when I say that, I mean like life is about trial and error. It's about experience. You will be going through ups and downs. And yeah, not everything you like, and not every desire you manifest is going to be the thing that you, sometimes it comes to you and you're going to be like, this is not what I expected. And then you just learn from that and you evolve from that. Ultimately, no matter what, good or bad, however you interpret the outcome, you are evolving and growing. So it will always be in your favor. I mean, as long as you look at it like that. But the art process is very similar. So let me talk about how this relates to, say, creating a painting. So the glimmers, the things that catch your eye, those are the colors that catch your eye on a palette, right? The lines, the shapes that look satisfying to you. When you look at other people's art, you're like, wow, I really like how that looks. I want to make that too, or something like that. That is like those little glimmers, those flashes that look good. That's like the beginnings of your manifestation. That's the beginnings of your painting. That's you creating the manifestation and the desire, and that's you planning out your painting and what it's going to look like. Like, hey, that stuff looks fun. I want to do that too. So you start to apply strokes to your canvas. Like maybe that's with some action in your life. And you start to see how they come together physically and what they start to look like. And what do they look like with other marks that you have made that are already there. And you won't know this until you do it. And that's like the biggest thing with my art, right? Like I always have these really big ideas and I'm so scared to like put the first line down because it looks scary at first just being by itself. But that's also kind of like the process of life. And when you take that first step towards something that you're creating, it can be intimidating, especially especially when what you're trying to create seems so big and amazing. So it makes sense that this is intimidating for you. And you can't help but sit there imagining what the final product is going to look like. And yes, there is an appropriate amount of time before you apply to the canvas, but when you're having fun, you just go for it. And the more you apply, the more you see and you learn as you make more art, you learn like what techniques work for you. Some things look really great with others, but sometimes like, bro, that green does not look good with that gold. Like, switch it out. These things don't align. And you might be afraid. Well, what if you fill up your canvas and it's too much and you can't add anymore and you're not happy with it? And I say, or what I thought was, you only have one canvas? And you might think, like, some people might interpret it like you have a giant canvas and that's your entire life. But what if you had infinite canvases? And it was like each canvas was like a stage or a segment in your life. And you create a collection. You have a blank canvas that's like a new start for you. And it can be really scary to look at that blank canvas. And you have old canvases that you've created. You can look back to see what you did and what you've learned from them. And they look messy or they look beautiful depending on how you remember them, how you remember the memory. Sometimes you got to walk away from it and it looks different when you come back. Sometimes I got to just not think about the past. And then when I come back to it with a new mindset, it looks different. Sometimes you want to put your canvas under a different light source. You know, look at this painting under a crappy fluorescent light versus the light of the sun. You're going to see colors so much differently. Look at your life under the light of the sun. It will look a lot different. So, you see what I'm saying here? Perspective. Fun, curiosity, trial and error, reflection, ready for new beginnings, learning more about yourself. And are you having art block? Are you having life block? Just do something. Draw a line, draw a shape, make a stroke. Something will come from it. Something will always come from it. As long as you're making some sort of progress. And now I'm not also saying like just do, go, go, go. Sometimes you gotta rest. Sometimes you need to take a break. Sometimes that's what art block calls for, is to take a break. And remember that the painting process, the creation process, that's fun on its own. The journey of it, the making of it, you zone out. Like when you really get into a flow state, like that's my favorite state. When I can get into that, I don't really care what this is going to look like. As long as I'm in a flow state at the end of the day, damn, like I got it. That's what I want. I'm just feeling good. I don't really care what I'm doing. Like if you're being honest with yourself, do you really care what you're doing as long as you feel good and you're in a flow state? You're at that peace. So I think like manifestation is like that, imagining the painting in your head initially and to have that desire in your head. And then you start making rough sketches maybe. And that's like the beginning of the idea. Like, yes, I'd like to travel a lot. I would like to now travel to this place. And these are the colors that I'm seeing. This is the emotion I'm seeing. Okay. I have it very detailed and laid out. Now I have I have my initial sketch. I have my color palette. I've got the details that it's going to have listed. And you have like this whole drawing planned out. And sometimes you don't go in with that. Sometimes you don't go in with the details. You just draw. You just do it to see what happens. And I think like when you see synchronicities in your life, those are like kind of the marks that you have made coming into reality. Like you think a random thing and then a few days later it comes up. That's the stroke you made in your mind where you're like, I'm going to take action towards this. Like, let me do this because it sounds good. And then boom, there it is. That's like confirmations. They're like affirming that you are creating this image and this is what it's starting to look like. Here are other examples coming up around you. Like some people start to interpret like, why I've been wanting this thing my whole life and now my friends have it. Like, how is that? How did they have it and I don't? That is just you attracting more experiences like that. So you can see like, hey, this is what this looks like. Are you starting to like how that looks? Like you've been asking for it, right? So this is just another example of it with other people. It's like an algorithm when you're on Instagram, you're going through the other artists' stuff and you start liking certain styles, and then more of those styles come up and more of those artists come up, and you're like, wow, wow, wow. I'm overwhelmed by how many people draw like this and create like this and create in the way that I like. I really want to do that. And you can decide to be jealous about it. You can decide to be sad about it. And that's okay. That's normal if you feel that way. But then know that, well, this is just part of my journey to get to that point or get to the point that is mine. Get to the experience that is meant for me to experience. Get to the drawing that is meant for me to draw and create. I think the biggest thing I want to take from this is remember to enjoy the art process. Remember to enjoy the journey. It can be frustrating because sometimes you have such a vivid picture in your head. Like I really feel that with my art and my life. I have such a vivid picture sometimes. And sometimes I have nothing. And both are scary. Both are frustrating in some sort of way. But as long as you are in that flow state, it just comes to you and you get there. Like, I don't think I've ever been in a flow state and created something I didn't like at the end of the day. I don't think that's ever happened. And then if it has, or somebody else didn't like it, I don't care because I was enjoying myself. Okay, I don't know how to end this. I usually am pretty good at these. Okay, maybe not fantastic, but maybe it's just gonna be a silly thing. This is part of the process, right? Okay, whatever. I have stuff to do. I gotta go.